Hi, this is Wishop. Let me get this zoomed way up. There we go. Now it's take me a minute to get it all arranged. Ooh. It is always kind of a pain to get it set up, I have to be honest. Ooh, come on. You're kidding, right? Okay. All right. I think, yeah, okay. Whew. Okay. This is the Scorpio dark moon, new moon reading, which is for the new moon of November 7th. So this is going to cover from this period through the full moon at 0 degrees Gemini on November 23rd. I did a whole big, like basically half an hour on the astrology because it's really interesting right now, and a number of themes which have to do with giving and receiving and attracting blessings and how we deal with reciprocity and worth and self-worth. A lot of those came up, and so I did a big video about those. So if you're interested in the astrology, go check that one out. If you just want the card reading, then this is your spot. So tell me how you like the format. If you would prefer, I don't always have a lot to say about the astrology, and then I can just jump right into the cards. But would you prefer on times when I do have a lot to say about it, if I kept the videos split up, or would you rather see them all together like a great big old ramble? So let me know. Okay, this is the card reading. I'm doing kind of like it's a little bit of a three worlds reading, but it's probably got some other stuff going on too. This is my Polloi tarot deck, which is a Rider-Waite clone, which was sold as a party game. These are playing cards. These are Spirit of Nashville playing cards. And the word spirit is operative because I find they're very good at giving kind of otherworldly messages, actually. And here's the retro Lenormand, which is a big favorite, so you've probably seen me use that before. So we're going to kind of just get in and see where we're at. But let's start with the center, kind of see maybe what's doing. Oh, check it out. Okay, so here's the Judgment card. And it is a card of rising up. It's a card of resurrection. It's a card of new birth, like the phoenix born from the ashes. It can also have relationships to Pluto, the ruler of the underworld, because they look like they're coming up out of coffins. So this fits very much with the astrology of the moment, which is that we've just had Halloween and All Souls, but the new moon is also, the dark moon is also very important to these celebrations, where the veil is thin, as they say. And I do that kind of work, sort of reaching across to the other world in that way, and with ancestors and the deceased. And so I have noticed that the currents are lively. They're very, very lively right now, and they're coming through in ways that they haven't in every case. You know, I'm experiencing things I haven't had happen to me before. Other people I know have, but I haven't. And other people I know are having things happen to them that they haven't had happen before. So it's kind of a strange time. So it's a time of spiritual gifts or psychic intuition, you could say, just really bubbling up to the surface. So let's see how this Judgment card is amplified. Oh, check it out. This is the sun. Let me hold this up close so you can see how pretty this is. This is number 31. It's the Ace of Diamonds. It's a little hard to see because these are very detailed little cards. And this says the sun on the bottom, but it's a really nice card. As always, a great card in the deck. And here's my Spirit of Nashville card. Okay, so the 5 of Clubs, and you can see here we have Union Station. I find, this is a train station, so I find the drawings on here, or the selection of the graphics that are on each card, to be very useful and evocative. So, okay, so here we have the train, Union Station, and I use the other world, so to speak. I use the metaphor of a train station quite a bit, because you end up in the other world and then you kind of have to figure out where you're at and where you're going. And some people are more confused than others. Some people seem to have their tickets punched and they know where they're headed and they're moving along with great purpose. And other people kind of look around at all the confusion around them and feel kind of lost. Oops. So this is shining a light, even if you don't think of this as being an underworld sort of situation. We have the 5 of clubs, which can represent a kind of dynamic striving. So it can be a competitive kind of card, but it can also be a card of training and skill building, is a way I often think of it. And here we have union stations. So we have the idea that we're working together to go somewhere, right? We're going somewhere. And we have the sun, which is illuminating that. It's sort of casting its lucky light on all of these activities. And we have the idea of being called forth into something. So certainly I would say, if you're getting little spiritual messages, these are calls, from on high, to perhaps join in union with someone, or to build your skills in some area, or to train at something, because it could be a very fruitful time where you come into a new life because of it. I will only say briefly that totally tallies with what was in the astrology, that sense of coming into something new and it will tangibly be changing your life. That is very clear in the astrology, so it's really interesting to see it come up in the cards too. So I think the idea here is we've got this sort of family together, and because we have the 5 of clubs, which can be competitive, and I was getting family energy in the astrology too, this can be an idea of being in competition with your family. So there could be sibling issues of needing to work together. Like, imagine these people helping each other to climb up and get out. Here, let me lend you a hand. There is some sense there. We're lending each other a hand as we're moving toward the light. We may not be, if you feel like this shrimpy little one, you might not feel like, I can't push this lid off by myself. Is somebody going to give me a hand? And I think we're going to be giving each other a hand. Rather than competing, we're going to be clear that we're lending a hand. So there was a giving and receiving quality in the astrology. So I will say, when we get to the ideas of judgment and the ideas of reflecting back on the things that you have done and thinking about areas where you really performed in a way that you're so proud of, and areas where maybe you didn't, you're going to have this chance to do it better. We're skill building. We're going to do it better. You're going to get some revelations about areas where you want to improve. Or it might not be where you want to improve, but where you would like a situation to improve. That's going to be lit. Not just lit like, hey, that's really hot and lit, but like lit up. In the judgment card, oftentimes these characters will look kind of gray, like almost sort of zombie colored. I like in this one, they're very warm and flesh toned, and we have the sun shining above. They're really being warmed. And it is interesting to think of that as we are heading into the darker season of the year, to think, can going within feel warm? Can going into this quieter inward time actually feel warm? I think it can, because it's this time when you can be skill building on a subtle level. You could be skill building in ways that aren't necessarily out in the open, and yet the sun is shining on these efforts and warming them up, so they're really going to go somewhere, so to speak. So let's see what else we've got. 8 of Pentacles, 4 of Diamonds. Oops, these I don't flip. the lily. Okay, so Eight of Pentacles, as you may know, is a card of practice. Sometimes it's the card of the apprentice, sometimes it's the card of the master, depending on who's reading it. But it is often a card of efforts that you make repeatedly because you're trying to perfect your product. You're trying to fine-tune it, bulletproof it, get it really running perfectly. You want to get this process really working. Like imagine this 8 like a set of a bike chain, and you want it smoothly running over the gear wheels, because the better it turns, the faster you can go. This is the kind of idea. So you're perfecting and you're tweaking and you're really working at it to gain mastery. That to me ties in very nicely with this idea here. And then we have the Four of Diamonds. So what's interesting is this is the Johnny Cash Museum. So the Four of Diamonds often we can think of as maybe it's the pillars of a house, but an actual tangible house. Like it's the four corners of your routine, of your day. It can be the business hours you keep, right? These are the structures that you put in place to run your life. And it looks like those are going to change. Well, that's what the astrology said, and that's what this says too. Tangibly, something about the routines you keep, something about the structure of where you live, so possibly real estate, something about your schedule, your routine is going to change. It's going to go upend. So I think it's interesting because we think like Johnny Cash is one of these outlaw characters, right? But the Four of Diamonds in reverse says that actually the structure probably maybe works a little better in this direction. You are improving it. You're not so much going rogue or going outlaw as you are making improvements on it. But I like the idea because in the astrology it was very clear that there would be tangible changes, and that those changes could be the result of dramatic offers coming into you. So this sort of keeps pace with that lily, which is a card of maturity and wisdom. It can also be a card of older people. Again, is strengthening the idea that perhaps someone older in our life or an authority figure, it's going to be scorpionic, dealing with someone else's resources. It may be that they are going to either donate resources or confer mastery upon you or give you an opportunity to learn from them, something that is going to cause a tangible change for you. So that's what I'm seeing so far in the cards. So let's get the last column flipped and then we'll put it all together. Oh, check it. Okay, so we have the bear in the top corner. We have the Seven of Swords in reverse. We have the Seven of Diamonds upright. This is the Frist Center. And look at this. This is like a classical looking edifice, or maybe deco looking, but this particular part is kind of classical, and we've got the eagle on top. It's interesting because the Seven of Diamonds says, be prudent. The Seven of Swords in reverse to me says, don't try to get away with anything. Don't try to take shortcuts. Because the bear tells me you are building for the long term. You are building for great financial security and physical security, which ties in with all this Taurus energy. You are really building towards something great. So if the bear is you, that's who you're trying to become. And the bear is not busy cutting corners. The bear moves once, but moves wisely. That's the kind of idea. So if we sort of look at these lines like this, the Eight of Pentacles, Judgment, and the Seven of Swords in reverse, it says you're going to have an opportunity to improve, to be reborn in some way, to revisit something very important to you. It's going to feel like a call. So maybe you get called by somebody into something that you really want to revisit, you want to try again, or it's something quite new, and it's something that's going to take some effort on your part and some dedication and some work. Don't try to cut the corners. Don't try to it's not just don't try to cut the corners, which is true, but it's also you can't get away with it. Even if you try, you won't get away with it. And it's also the sevens are cards of mastery. So this is a card of not mastering your mind, and this is a card of mastering your material world, mastering your sense of value, mastering your strength. So it looks to me like what's happening is it's more important here, because the bear is also a very strong, very solid character. It's more important that you master your strength, your solidity, like your dedication to what you're doing. It's not so important that you try to zigzag and figure out absolutely the best little advantage in every situation. This is like asking for a rededication or a new dedication to something, to a new skill. And so instead of trying to grab every sword you can, like if you think of every sword as a thought, you're having all these different thoughts and you're trying to somehow figure out the best ones to take and the best ones to leave. And in a well-aspected position, this card shows that you're doing it. You are mastering your mind. You're mastering your busy mind, and you're creating very good strategies and tactics. In this direction, it's saying you can't strategize this. And I think perhaps the reason is this has a divine element. We've got the sun here. We've got judgment. They have plans, and they're big plans. You are not going to be able to mastermind this. You're not going to be able to see where it's going. What you do have the ability to do is to decide whether or not you want to put your head down and work on this. And if you do, if you think this is worthy, you know, we've got this lily, which is like there's a sense of something long-standing, mature, serene, and peaceful. So this could be the person who brings it to you, but it could also be this promises a way of life that has a new level of serenity. You know, Johnny Cash, as you may know, had his share of trials with things in his life. He had his ups and downs. He was incarcerated. He did deal with substances. He had, you know, issues of estrangement from people he loved. Don't enthrone the things you don't want. Don't say that because they've been around all this time that you're going to make, so to speak, no offense to Johnny Cash, who was a great artist, but don't make gods out of things that you don't really want. Think in all these cases, what is of value? Is this worth my time to work on? And if you're offered something that offers peace and serenity, you might think about whether or not you're willing to give up some of the drama, some of the drawn out ups and downs, to work on something that feels divinely guided and divinely blessed and is going to build you skills where you're really going somewhere. But it's going to require that you have some faith here. Like, it takes a lot of faith to work on things, especially in the modern world, to work on things that you don't completely understand. We want to know the end before we start. Like, am I going to get away with it? How many, you know, swords do I stand to get away with? How many am I going to earn? What does my week look like tomorrow or next week? And then what does it look like the week after that? And what are my trend lines? This doesn't look like that. This looks like, here's a divine opportunity. You have the chance to decide if you want to take it or not. It has a great amount of promise here. There's financial promise for sure. There's promise of strength and authority. There's the sun. So this could be an authority figure, a very wise authority figure who is offering you this chance if it's a mundane opportunity. So even if it's a mundane opportunity, it could feel like it's divinely guided at this time. Like it's somebody that you know, you worked with for a long time, you really think of them as a great figure, and they come to you and go, you know what, I've been thinking about retiring. I think I might like you to help take over my business. Would you want to be my protege? Would you want to be my next in charge? And this could come to you out of the blue. And it means you're not going to be in control of everything that happens. You're not going to be able to mastermind and plan everything, but you are going to be able to work together toward a very valuable goal that looks like it's got a great amount of long-term potential. If you can be patient with it because you think it's worthwhile. You have to think it's worthwhile. Here, it's going to be all about the value and all about the value judgment. What do you really think? What do you really want? Because if somebody is offering you your dream come true, I would say, yeah, you might think about taking it, because they're not necessarily trying to pull the wool over your eyes, right? When we see this card, we think, oh, somebody might be trying to deceive me. Even if this sounds great, it's not necessarily a deception. Be prudent, right? Be prudent. Do your research, but don't hang on to anything you don't want just because you're afraid of the strain, so to speak, of being reborn. There should be a lot of sunlight on this situation. You should be able to get a really good feel about it, a really good read on it. I'm not suggesting that you should walk into things with your eyes closed. I'm just suggesting that this will be a bit of a leap of faith where you can't quite see where you're going. Your mind doesn't quite know it yet. And there is going to be some investment in terms of your own efforts to see it really start to come to fruition. So I don't know. I think it could be really exciting. This is a time of blessing. This is, I tell you truly, a time of miracle and wonders. So even if things look on the surface of different parts of your life or different parts of the landscape of your community or your world as you look out on it and you think, oh no, this is a nightmare, be aware this is a time of miracles and wonders, and even things that don't look like they're working in your favor may very much be working in your favor in surprising and exciting and liberating kind of ways. So I hope that you enjoyed this reading. Let me know how you like the format of splitting up the cards and the astrology. And until next time, rock on with your bad selves.